as you tell your story about what happened, it tends to make what you're going through feel a lot more normal, because you're going to be sitting around people that have been through something very similar to what you are going through.
Everyone, this is Sarah Sloan, and I am the Communications Director at the C.O.P.S National Office, and welcome to our very first podcast. This is going to be a little bit more informal, but very timely since we are so close to National Police Week. We will let you know as we move forward with the podcast where we will invite survivors on to share their stories. We'll have members of the law enforcement community as special guests, and of course we will host licensed mental health professionals that will come on and offer tips related to grief and focusing on mental health and wellness. But today it's just going to be myself and Dianne Bernhard, our Executive Director. We wanted to have a conversation about National Police Week, which is just under 3 weeks away. If you have never been and are attending for the first time, we know you have questions and you might be a little bit nervous about how the week flows and where you're going, where you're staying at, what if I have questions when I get there, and so much more. So if you are returning to National Police Week from previous years, you may wonder how things will look different. So we thought just having a conversation and hearing us just talk a little about it may ease some of those worries. So I want to welcome Dianne Bernhard, the Executive Director of Concerns of Police Survivors. Dianne, you have been at C.O.P.S now for over 8 years and are working on coordinating your 9th National Police Week. But our listeners may not know too much about you or why you have chosen to lead C.O.P.S. Can you share a little bit about your story?
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Sarah, for having me on this podcast. So I came to know about C.O.P.S in January of 2005 when I was working at the Columbia, Missouri Police Department as a sergeant at the time. And I had lost a very close friend and coworker. Her name was Molly Bowden. And she was shot on a traffic stop on January 10th of 2005. And in February 10th of 2005, she succumbed to her injuries from that incident. So none of us knew anything about C.O.P.S at the time. It was our first line of duty death. We had never experienced it, never been through it before. And we didn't know exactly what to do. We knew we would do anything for Molly's family, and we still do and would. But at the time, what did help was that C.O.P.S came in and got to know Molly's family, and they helped Molly's family in ways that we weren't unable to do so. So it was a great experience when I heard from Molly's dad, Dave Thomas. He talked about going to the parents' retreat for the first time at C.O.P.S, and I did a little bit of research into the organization after that. And when it was time for me to retire from my position at Columbia Police Department, and I saw this ability to come to the organization that took such good care of Molly's family, I knew that that this was going to be my next thing. So that's how I came to know about C.O.P.S. And since then, it's just been an honor and a privilege to work with so many families that were just like Molly's family.
So yeah, you've seen C.O.P.S from all sides. You've experienced it as an outsider looking in. You've realized that you are a surviving coworker. And now, as we're approaching, as you said, your 9th National Police Week, which is by far the largest event that C.O.P.S plans each year. We're approaching that, like I said. The days are coming up, May 11th through the 17th. And I know survivors that have received our mailings, have followed us on social media, have visited our website. They see the schedule of events, and it might be a little overwhelming since there are so many days, so many things to go to. But can you just give us a brief rundown of the events of the week?
Yeah, absolutely. And National Police Week can be overwhelming because there are so many things that happen during National Police Week, and there's so many moving pieces of the week. But I can assure those that are nervous about it or are worried about coming to C.O.P.S that we've got you. Like from the time you get off the airplane at National Police Week until May 17th when you get back on the plane, we are going to make sure that you have a good experience at National Police Week. So what is that experience? May 11th or 12th when you arrive at the airport. If you fly into Reagan Airport and you're there during the morning till even 8 or 9 o'clock at night, you will be greeted at your gate by an honor guard that will make sure that you feel welcomed at the airport. They'll help you with your luggage. They'll make sure that you get on a bus that's rented by cops, and then you'll be escorted to your hotel if you're staying at one of the cops' hotels. So that happens on the 11th and 12th. After you arrive at your hotel, we encourage you to take one of the shuttles. If you're not staying at the Hilton Marks Center, to take one of the shuttles that are provided for you over to the Marks Center at your first opportunity. And there you'll check in for the week, and you'll get a whole bunch of information given to you right there at that hotel. On the 12th, we also have Law Enforcement United is doing their ride-in. They do a bike ride that's incredibly powerful to see them all ride in together in support of your fallen officers, or of all of our heroes. This is a group of law enforcement officers and survivors that all come together. They ride over 300 miles in preparation of National Police Week, and they all come together at Haynes Point on the 12th. There's also a second bike ride, the Police Unity Tour, that will also ride in on the 12th. So you will have to choose which bike ride that you go to. And then we'll also offer that night shuttles from your COPS hotels down to the Memorial Wall. So we do encourage you prior to May 15th, Peace Officers Memorial Day, to take one of those shuttles and go down to the wall and see your officer's name on the wall there at a time you'll get there, and it's just an incredibly reverent place. You'll see mementos that have been left there at the wall. You're welcome to bring a picture or something that's meaningful to you to take down to the wall and to the memorial, and to leave it there or to take it with you at the end of the week. You can do either one, but we encourage you on those early days to get down to the memorial wall and see the name for the first time, and just experience that whole camaraderie that you'll feel when you get there of the other survivors that will also be there for their officers. So then we go to the 13th, and we'll have the candlelight vigil that evening, and you'll get a lot of details and information about that when you go to your orientation session during check-in time at the Marks Center. And that's an incredible evening as well. And then the 14th is the COPS conference, and there you'll have an opportunity to hear some motivational speakers. You'll have sessions to attend. You'll meet other survivors that are going through experiences very similar to what you are, and there's a level of comfort that you're going to feel on that day when you arrive at the Marks Center for that conference and feel yourself surrounded by the COPS organization. You will absolutely feel our love that day on the 14th. That evening, we have a private ticketed event that's our Blue Honor Gala, and we do this to recognize some of our donors as well as partners that help us put on National Police Week. That gala is completely sold out. We're really happy to announce that. We're very excited about our supporters and that evening. And then on May 15th, we'll have the memorial service that's sponsored by the Fraternal Order of Police, and that's the Peace Officers Memorial Service on the Capitol lawn. And that's a incredible day of just honor and remembrance. And then on the 16th, we'll meet again at the Marks Center to close out the week. And there you'll have more sessions available to you. And we'll end the evening that night with kind of just relaxing, and we'll have a relaxing picnic that night with tons of activities for kids to do. And we also have the Kids and Teens programs that happens on the 14th and 16th as well. So there's something for all age groups at National Police Week, sponsored by COPS.
Yeah, and I know Dianne has given a brief rundown. The events, all of them are incredible. But if you have questions, especially things that you might not have realized we do, like the picnic on the patio, if you want to know kind of what activities are there, what your kids might like to do, just give us a call. Or honestly, the best way to get a response about the specific events, just to know what they're all about, shoot us a message via Facebook or Instagram, and we'll respond that way. But we know that you might have questions that you might not want to bother us with or call us. Please, no question should go unanswered. We just want you to feel comfortable coming. So absolutely shoot us a message on that Facebook or Instagram page. You talked briefly about Law Enforcement United, but I also want to talk about some other organizations that we receive incredible support from, and they're very involved with National Police Week. One of them being the Officer Down Memorial page. I know all of us have visited that page to either pay tribute to our own officers or just to learn the stories of others, especially if you're getting ready to meet a surviving family. You want to know about who their hero was. So talk to us a little bit about ODMP, or Officers Down Memorial page.
Yeah, we have a number of organizations that support us that will be at National Police Week. Officer Down Memorial Page is a great example of that. They host a 5K run on the morning of the 14th, and what you might not know about ODMP is they're also a strong supporter of COPS, and they always donate to COPS and try to support our mission. But more than that, we're partners in every sense of the word, in that we share information and as we went through the last couple years and unfortunately lost so many officers to COVID and to every other way an officer can die, and it has been an incredible couple of years. And without our partnership with ODMP, I don't know how we would have got through that, of just the plain gathering of information to make sure we can start to do that outreach to families. We mentioned Law Enforcement United already, but they will be writing in, and they support 3 organizations. They support COPS, and for COPS, they entirely fund our kids' camp, many of our kids' programs and other programs, and we're incredibly grateful and don't know how we would even operate COPS without LEU. So they're an incredible partner to us. They also support Spirit of the Blue, which is another partner of us, and they support Officer Down Memorial Page as well. So they're an amazing organization. And last, I just want to shout out to the law enforcement organizations that help put on National Police Week. While they're not necessarily donors to COPS, what they do is they help us with every piece of logistics that you're about to witness at National Police Week. Every time a bus shows up at a location, or a bus is escorted by motor officers, or traffic is stopped throughout the city to make sure that we can move from one place to the other. There's a lot of logistics that go behind that, and the law enforcement organizations, there's over 30 of them that support the logistics of National Police Week. So as you see those things happen, please just know that you're part of the Big Blue family, and all they want to do is make sure you have a great experience at National Police Week.
Yeah, the behind-the-scenes pieces of National Police Week is simply incredible. I've been able to see a little part of that in my 10 years with COPS, but when you get in that room and you see all these law enforcement professionals, from the transportation to making sure that the meals are on time, I mean, all of it just comes together, and to see it actually at Police Week and the way it flows, I mean, it's the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And I'm not a survivor, but coming to National Police Week and viewing it from an outsider, the honor that goes into Police Week, even behind the scenes, is unmatched. So I'm excited for all of you to be there. While the reason we're all going to be gathering is not ideal, I'm excited to see all of you and to just have you experience that and know your officer truly will never be forgotten. With National Police Week this year, we used to be able to say that on average 140 to 160 officers die in the line of duty each year. That average is not accurate. We don't have an official number yet, but this is by far the largest National Police Week we've ever had, and we will be honoring 563 officers, and we have over 6,200 survivors registered with COPS. Many more supporters and members of the law enforcement community will be coming to D.C. for this week, but with over 6,000 survivors registered, it kind of takes my breath away. What is that like for you, Dianne, and for the COPS staff and the national board and the COPS chapters who will be coming simply to support each other? Because as you may not know, our chapters are run on a volunteer basis by survivors who have been there. They've been at Police Week. They've sat in your seat. They've had these questions, and they're going to be there to help ease those worries for you. And of course, as Dianne said, the partnering organizations. What is that like for you, for all of you, to pull it off logistically?
Yeah, so this has been, when you said it takes your breath away, that's a really accurate description of what it's felt like. We know with every moving piece, every piece of mail that we send, that each one of those represents a family whose life has been changed and forever. and the incredible responsibility you feel to make sure that National Police Week is a good experience for those families. That's a lot of pressure, frankly, but it's such an honor to be able to sit in the seat and to be able to work on these logistics. I feel like our staff has worked incredibly hard to basically triple the amount of preparation for National Police Week than they've ever done before. And then our COPS chapters, to put it in perspective, we have one state that averages on a year between 7 and 10 police officers that die in the line of duty in that state. This year they're honoring almost 50 officers. Just to see our chapters to pull it together and gather that information about the families so they can even be invited to National Police Week. That's been an incredible toll on our chapters, and I'm incredibly proud of them. Like, they have done a great job. And while not every officer that we're honoring is going to have a family member there, over 90% of them are. So that's just a huge testament to how much work was done to make sure that families were aware of National Police Week to begin with before we even started on the logistics. So it's been an incredible lift. It's been a heavy lift. Our board has made some incredible hard decisions on how we're going to manage the numbers at Police Week, but I'm pretty excited that we have a great plan. It may look a little bit different for those of you that are returning survivors than it has in years past, but we really feel like we have a plan that's going to work for our new survivors and our returning survivors when they arrive in D.C.
That you touched on the 90%, and that, I have to say, was really cool to watch. Maybe cool is not the right word, but to hear in our office, because there was one time when we had the list and the officers were only 45% represented. That means that only 45% of the officers who were honoring had a family member or an officer there that was going to be honoring them. And so to hear our staff so eager and almost celebrating when we got to 90%, that's where it showed me that, we have, 26 staff members, and to see the honor, and we stand behind our mission of rebuilding the shattered lives of survivors, but also promising that your officer will never be forgotten, and to know that even if we got to 100% of those officers, and we knew what that would take logistically and what that would do to increase the attendance at Police Week, but to know that the important thing is that those officers are never forgotten and that there are people there to honor them and that their survivors are going to be taken care of. Those are the things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. Our staff is incredible, and that's almost every single one of us is going to Police Week because we don't only just want to experience it, we want to make sure that you guys are taken care of, and that if you have questions, we're there. We're staying in the hotels. We're working long hours because any question that you have, we are here for you right now and when we're at Police Week. So please know that. Speaking of hotels, and I said the average of the officers is changing, we typically say that we have 4 or 5 hotels that survivors who have registered through C.O.P.S stay at, and transportation to events is provided from those. This year, we have had to secure 14 hotels. And this, of course, has presented a bit of a challenge. But Dianne, especially you, I've watched you with the staff that handles that piece and the hotel assignments, and you spent days and you worked weekends and you worked long hours on the weekends to make sure that families are together as much as they can, that chapters are close to their families. Can you tell us where they can find, well, first talk to us about when they'll get notification about their hotel and where they're staying, but then, transportation between the 14 hotels might be a little confusing, but can you talk to us a little bit about that process and just basically make people understand that we've got it under control. It might look differently, but here's how you're going to find that information.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the goals we had this year from getting feedback from previous years was how important it was to families to be at the same hotel with their other family members. This has been a little bit of a shift in thought. Before we tried to put some of our more participating family members in our hotels that are closer to the Mark Center, and to take our family members that weren't participating in all the events and put them in some of the outlying hotels. We heard from survivors that they really didn't like this process because they wanted to be at Police Week with their families. And so our goal when we started this whole process was to make sure that we were keeping entire families together. And with very, very few exceptions, we have accomplished that goal. So you can expect when you go to Police Week that you will be at hotels with the other family members that are coming to the police week as well, if they've registered through C.O.P.S by the deadline. We can't promise a lot for those who registered after the deadline. But for those who did before, we've got families all together. For the most part, we've got coworkers also staying in the same hotels of those families. We weren't able to do that in every case, but we have in many cases also having the coworkers that are there with the families. And in some cases, we were even able to keep chapters together, so you would be there with other families from your states. We were not able to do that, unfortunately, for all of our chapters because the sheer number of officers that we're honoring from some of the states required us to break those up. So, but you could expect that you'll be at the same hotel with your family, so hopefully that'll alleviate a little of concern. Those hotel rooming lists have all now been sent to the hotels, so they're in the process right now of entering all those into their systems, and then they will be sending out confirmation numbers via email to your email addresses. So if you haven't received one by, I would say, the end of next week, give us a call. We'll also have a list by then of everybody's confirmation numbers. But I encourage you to check your spam, also part of your email first, and see if the email from the hotel went to spam versus to your regular email address. And then to talk about transportation just a little bit, it is a challenge to move people around from 14 hotels to all the different events. And I'm going to give kudos to some of the other organizations that are also planning the major events, our National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund and our Fraternal Order of Police that are also working on logistics for transportation. So the part of transportation that C.O.P.S is responsible for is that airport pickup and the transportation from the shuttles to the C.O.P.S hotels. But we also have been involved in the conversations to make sure that hopefully the other transportation pieces go smoothly as well. You will expect to see in your hotel lobby, every hotel might be slightly different in how their transportation is going to work, but you should see signs in your hotel lobby talking about your transportation and how you can get to where you're going. And then you can also, and we encourage before you get to National Police Week, or as soon as you get to National Police Week, to download the new National Police Week app that is brand new this year. This app has been created by C.O.P.S, the National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund, and the FOP in partnership to make sure that we've recorded all the events in one place. You'll also be able to access your agenda book from the app as well. So we encourage you to download that. I think you can go to the Apple Store and also the Google, is it called Google Play, Sarah? This is out of my out of my realm.
If you have an Android, of course, go to Google Play. And if you have an Apple phone, you'll just go to your App Store and you can search National Police Week 2022. But we also will have, I believe we have the QR codes out there on our website and on our social media. But if you forget to download it before you get there, we'll also have signs with those QR codes for the ease of download. And it really is just a benefit to have at your fingertips. Like Dianne said, at check-in, you'll get a agenda book, which is about a 70-page book, and it'll go in your tote bag. But, sometimes you might leave that in your hotel room or you might not want to lug it around. So we have a button on the app that you can easily access the agenda book there. We'll have it up on our website. So basically, we're trying to think about you and what you need at your fingertips so you never feel lost. You know what's coming up next. And again, we're always there to ask questions. Dianne, besides the logistics, because we know you and the C.O.P.S staff work long days for the entire police week, but like I said, beside the logistics, for you personally, what is your favorite thing about Police Week?
Boy, that's hard. There's so many things that are incredible about National Police Week, but I have to say, I think the thing that fills my cup at the end of the week is watching our survivors that will get to the host hotel, having just went through the airport pickup process, and they may look a little lost. You can definitely see the grief on their faces, and then to see on the 14th the other survivors come and pick them up. And I think that when we talk about rebuilding shattered lives, it's really all about hope. And I think on that 14th, when you see the seasoned survivors that are greeting the new survivors, and that they can see from the seasoned survivors that there is hope, that their life can be okay again going forward. And there's so much that there's so much of a transformation that happens during Police Week. And then you see on the night of the 16th at the picnic on the patio, you'll see all the kids that are running around. They've just built their own bear or stuffed animal. They're bouncing in the bounce house. They're having a great time. They've met new friends, and you'll see the new survivors that will have a different look on their face. And it's one of hope, and they will have also made friends that week. And it's really about the whole mission of what COPS is, and I think that's my absolute favorite part is just seeing it all come together on the night of the 16th.
My favorite part is similar to that, but it more focuses on the children, especially with our Kids and Teens program. Since a lot of my job at Police Week is photography and videography, and documenting that for both survivors and just for promotional purposes in the upcoming years so we can show you what these events are about. But especially when kids are dropped off at the Kids Teens program and they're clinging to their surviving parent and they don't want to leave and they're uncomfortable. This is sometimes the first time they've ever left their parent. This is probably definitely the first time they've traveled since the loss of their parent. And to watch them go, and they have ways to get them to go with them for the activities, and there's other kids there that kind of help with that. But then when they come back and they don't want to go with their parent because they're clinging to their new friends, that I'm almost like in tears about it because it is such a cool thing. Because if you think about it, and if you're a survivor listening to this, especially if you're a surviving parent, and even if you're a surviving child, you so often feel alone at home because when your kids go to school, oftentimes there's no other kid there that has ever lost a parent, especially not in the way that you guys have. And now they're surrounded by kids that they know exactly what they're going through and they can talk about it, and it's a new perspective, and they finally are like, I am not alone. Oh my gosh, I'm not the only kid that this has happened to. That is the coolest part for me. And then, of course, they go into kids camp and they stay in contact on social media and they make plans to see each other throughout the year, and it becomes a lifelong friendship. It all starts at National Police Week, so that's what I'm most looking forward to. Okay, back to not getting emotional, although now I want to talk a little bit about the Candlelight Vigil. This is the first, besides the bicycle arrivals from Law Enforcement United and Police Unity Tour, which I do want to mention. We mentioned that there's 2 bike rides, but pay attention to the transportation because transportation is only provided to Law Enforcement United. It is unfortunately not provided to the Police Unity Tour, which there's been some confusion about that, which again, we'd be happy to answer questions about that, but just pay attention to your app and those signs about transportation. So besides that, the bicycle rides on the 12th. The first main event is the Candlelight Vigil. And that is on the evening of the 13th. And for returning survivors, there's a new process this year. Survivors will be getting an orange name tag when they check in, and that will have the detailed information of where to load and what time your family needs to load, instead of that ticketing process that is normal. So if you see an orange name tag, that is what those details are. So Candlelight Vigil, one of our favorite events. It's beautiful. What can survivors expect this night, Dianne?
Yeah, so it is an incredible event. So our partners at the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund host an event, and it's on the National Mall, and it's held at dusk. And as the evening progresses and it gets dark, it ends with candles being lit, and just watching 30,000 plus candles being lit throughout the National Mall. It's a view that there's nothing like it. There's just nothing like it. But the ceremony itself is, it's where the survivors will go. We will make sure they have busing to go down there. And once they arrive at the site, they'll be greeted by honor guards. They'll be seated in a seating that's designated just for survivors up close to the stage. And then they'll be there and they'll hear their officer's name read out loud for the first time at National Police Week. And it'll be done in a setting that's just, if you go out and look at photos of it, it just doesn't even do it justice. It's just an amazing evening. And then after that, as the vigil comes to a close, there'll be announcements made on where to catch the busing to go back. I would just encourage survivors that are coming to the vigil to just know that it's outside. There is not any shade, so when you first get there, it will still be light. And so to make sure you're bringing something, if you're worried about the elements, it will be held rain or shine. The only time it's ever canceled is if there's a major storm going through. And there'll be plans in place for that as well if that were to happen during the vigil. But I encourage you to bring things to drink, snacks for the kids, and warm clothing, because as it gets dark, it tends to get chilly that night. So some warm clothing for you and the children that are coming to the vigil with you. But just incredible evening, and just a shout out to the Law Enforcement Memorial Fund for hosting such an incredible event.
Yes. Okay, so then the day after the vigil, COPS hosts the first day of the National Police Survivors Conference. And this year, this is broken up in a couple different ways. Surviving family members will attend the conference at the Hilton Alexandria Mark Center, and surviving coworkers and their spouses or significant others will attend the conference at the Doubletree Crystal City. Due to the increased size of attendance, the family member survivors will also be broken up according to the state they reside in. Again, all of this will be detailed in your agenda book, which survivors will receive at the check-in. The second day of the conference will continue on May 16th, where both surviving family members and coworkers will come together and attend the sessions at the Hilton Alexandria Mark Center. There won't be any events happening at the Doubletree Crystal City on the 16th. So again, if you have questions about that, all of that will be highlighted when you check in, or if you want to go ahead and download that app and look into that, that's available now as well. Dianne, why should survivors make it a priority to attend the sessions on the 14th and the 16th with the luncheon and the different sessions? This is COPS, I don't want to say the big show, but this is the biggest piece that COPS presents. It's a lot of times when survivors start to meet each other. So talk about why they need to make it a priority to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the day when I feel like the healing and the healing part of our mission actually it starts occurring on that day. When they go to the conference on the 14th, they're going to experience some sessions that we're very purposeful about how we set this up. So the surviving mothers will be with other surviving mothers, and the spouses will be with other spouses, and the siblings will be with other siblings. And during those sessions, they will hear from each other how they're getting through what they're getting through, and tell their story for the first time. Maybe not the first time, but the first time in this setting. And then they'll, as you tell your story about what happened, it tends to make what you're going through feel a lot more normal than it would have prior to that, because you're going to be sitting around people that have been through something very similar to what you are going through. So it's really an amazing time on that 14th, and it's where we really talk about grief. It's something that society doesn't talk about a lot, but it's very real, and it needs to be talked about. And this is a safe setting where you'll have tons of support there for you. And we'll address all the issues that surround grief, from anger to how it affects your relationships, to how your families may not get it, or how your agency may not get it, or how your relationship with your community has changed because you've went through this incredibly public event in your communities. And so we'll have those sessions available on both days, and you get to pick and choose what you go to. So nobody is going to force you to go to anything that you're not wanting to go to. And then we'll also have a general session where we have an incredible speaker that's going to come. He's Mr. Paul Butler, and he's an incredible speaker that will talk to you and motivate you and help put that seed in there of that there is hope going forward. So we're excited about having him there on the 14th to talk to you in your general session. And then on the 16th at the luncheons and stuff, we'll have a lot of just a camaraderie between survivors, and the law enforcement family will come back in on the 16th, and kind of you'll be blown away by their response to National Police Week, and they want to make sure that you understand that you're a part of the Blue family forever. So you'll get to see that on the 16th as well. And then we'll do some tributes at the luncheon, and that night we'll wrap it all up with a picnic on the patio, which will be, as we've already talked about this podcast, an amazing experience.
And if you want a preview of the sessions offered, the agenda book that we've been discussing is already uploaded to the app as well as on the COPS website. But also if you follow us on social media, we posted some pictures we sent out the final mailing, so you'll be receiving that any day now. And there's a brief rundown of the topics. So look through those, and if you want any more details, I encourage you to check out that agenda book. The agenda book has more of a description of what's offered to you. And again, if you have questions, we'd be happy to answer. We have incredible mental health professionals that have been with COPS. Some of them have been with us for 25 years. So these sessions have been chosen for a reason because we know they work and they are the best sources out there for you. So definitely I encourage you to look at that. I'm just going to back up real quick before we wrap up. As we discussed on May 15th, the National Peace Officers Memorial Service will be held on the front lawn of the U.S. Capitol. This event is hosted by the National Fraternal Order of Police and its auxiliary. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire week. The service is always beautiful, but the fact that this day is kind of how National Police Week was created. It was proclaimed May 15th by President John F. Kennedy as Peace Officers Memorial Day back in 1962. And the week surrounding May 15th is National Police Week. So there's some history that goes back even prior to 1984 when COPS and LUMF were created. It can be very emotional for survivors. Dianne, you haven't missed a year except for 2020 when COVID forced us to postpone all in-person events. Give us a brief rundown of what this day is like for you and the survivors who will be sitting right next to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So May 15th is hosted by the Fraternal Order of Police and its auxiliary, and they plan year round to host this event right on the Capitol lawn. And it'll be a long day. You'll start very early in the morning. It's very important that day that you make sure that you're paying attention to the busing schedule, because what happens is all of our survivors from our 14 hotels that are participating in the event will be bused to the Hilton Mark Center. And at that Mark Center, you will all be basically lined up by putting you in rooms. And they do that for a reason. They line it up and they put people in order. So when your officer's name is read later at the service, that you'll be in the right order in order to go up and place a flower in the wreath that is at the front of the memorial service. That wreath is ultimately taken over to the memorial wall. It's an amazing tribute. But there's a reason behind all the logistics. So it may seem in that morning like it's a really early morning and it's a long day, but as you go through the day, you're going to realize the reason for all of that, and it's an incredible honor. This is one of the only events that the family members are actually participating in where they will actually get up and walk up to the wreath, and the Fraternal Order of Police will present also medals to the family. And it's as you do it, you're going to have the Capitol in the background. So as you're sitting in your chairs and for the memorial service, you will have a view of the Capitol. Often the President of the United States speaks at this memorial. We don't have confirmation one way or another yet if he's coming or not. But there will definitely be some incredible speakers that will be at the memorial, and it's very reverent, and it's just an honor to be a part of it. And this is one where we ask the families, or the FOP asks the families, to kind of dress up for it because it's a very special occasion. And this is also one, just from the COPS perspective, to remind you all that there's not food or available there, so you can bring snacks and bring plenty to drink, and it's held rain or shine as well. So the sun can be sometimes brutal depending on the weather. So if you need to bring an umbrella to block the sun, you absolutely can do that. And you will have heightened security for this. So you'll have to go through a magnetometer, and there'll be searching bags and things like that. So you can expect that when you get there. But feel free to bring what you need to make your family comfortable. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us about that. It's an incredible experience, and you only have 1 year where your officer's name is read, so I highly encourage you to attend that service.
Yes, and just remember to take it all in the entire week. Just know that we're here for you. Let us do the work for you. Let us worry for you. You just take it all in and be there to honor your officer and to support your families. Okay, we're about to hit our time, so I want to ask Dianne one more question before we sign off here, and that is, if you had one piece of advice to give the new survivors attending National Police Week for the first time, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say that the piece of advice I have with you is to realize that you are part of a large community when you arrive at National Police Week. Just let the week happen. Try not to get so overwhelmed by the details. You may not understand why it says to be at this location at this time or to do this at this time, but I can assure you that there's been a lot of process that has happened, logistics behind the scenes to make it all flow for you. So just go and experience it. Resist the temptation to go outside to do a lot of sightseeing, which makes you miss events, and just let the experience happen. You only have 1 year that is your year for your officer to be honored. After that, you're always welcome to come back to National Police Week. We love to see our returning survivors every year, but you have that 1 year to experience it. So I would just encourage you to just absorb the whole experience from the beginning to the end, and don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for help if you need some support, because we have a lot of people that are lined up to help take care of you during that week.
Yes. Well, Dianne, thank you for just having this conversation with me, because I know this is something that we talked about. And I think one of the reasons that we know how it flows each year is because we talk about it. And so just having this conversation and letting people listen to us, I hope, is just easing some of your worries, like we said. But again, reach out to us. Our phone number is 573-346-4911, or reach out to us on social media. Our contact information is on the website at concernsofpolicesurvivors.org. No question should go unanswered. So we look forward to seeing you, and just in a couple weeks. So by the time this goes out, it'll be right at 2 weeks. So we will see you soon, and we can't wait to hold you. One of the things we like to say is reach out your hand and let us pull you up, and we will be right there to do that.